Hi guys, it's Angelos from JustStarTrek.com, and today I want to talk to you about the wilderness years from when Enterprise was cancelled all the way up to Discovery, which has just had its premiere and will be shown around the world next week, which I can't wait. So let's just have a look a little bit about the background leading up to when the wilderness years started. In December 2002, when Lord of the Rings The Two Towers was released, Star Trek Nemesis was also released, which I think was a bit of a silly mistake because you're never going to compete against Lord of the Rings, and it was a critical and commercial flop. It wasn't necessarily the strongest film in the world. That's just Little Lucky, my Star Trek cat, meowing in the background. Even he doesn't like the film, and it was not a well-received film. Unfortunately, us Star Trek fans didn't necessarily support it too well, and that led to the death of the Next Generation movies, which I think was a real sad event because they didn't end on a high. And then you had Star Trek Enterprise, which finished in May 2005, and again, just when the series started getting good in the middle of the fourth season, it got cancelled. And if you think about it, Star Trek had been going on non-stop pretty much from 1987, and I think there was just, to coin the phrase, franchise fatigue. And then fans were kind of left in the air. What were they going to do? I mean, what was going to happen? Were there any new Star Trek films going to come out? Was there a new Star Trek series coming out? There was just nothingness. So I've done some research and I've had a look, and apparently there was a series pitched to the studios at the time by Berman and a chap called Eric Jendresen about a series of films which would have been a trilogy called Star Trek The Beginning, and that would have been set a few years after Enterprise and a good deal before the original series, and it would have dealt with the Romulan Federation War, and that would have been quite an interesting set of movies if they ever were made. Unfortunately, they never were made because there seems to be a regime change at Paramount Studios. But they would have focused not necessarily on any of the characters that we know and loved in Enterprise or the original series. It would have been a fresh set of characters and a couple of ships as opposed to just one ship, and it sounds quite similar to Discovery, funnily enough, in that respect. But it never got made, and then in 2005 Viacom and CBS split, and Paramount Pictures decided that they were going to create a new film. And so they asked Orci and Kurtzman, and they asked J.J. Abrams to direct a new Star Trek film. And this was going to be looking at the creation of the original series crew, so the Kirk, Uhura, Scotty, etc., etc. And I felt it was a good film, as an entertaining film. Was it a good Star Trek film? Yes and no. They kind of got the core of the characters, but at least we had something in 2009 which was Star Trek again. And I felt it reinvigorated the franchise a little bit. It got new faces into the cinemas to see what Star Trek was all about. It wasn't a boring, stiff, old Star Trek. It was a new, fresh, action-packed Star Trek. And then we had one other thing. It was also the first Star Trek film to win an Academy Award for Best Makeup, so even better. And then we had two sequels with Into Darkness, which was a little bit not quite there, and then Star Trek Beyond, which I thought was a very, very strong Star Trek film. And I think the studios decided that perhaps there still was enough interest out there to justify making a new Star Trek series. So we have Discovery launching next week, and I'm going to do a review about the first couple of episodes when it's out. And it's going along a new distribution channel, so it's going to be on CBS's subscription-based thing and Netflix for international people, which has caused a bit of concern with fans because they're not necessarily going to see it on the normal TV channels. But then again, we have to move with the times. A lot of people are looking at things online, and if we remember when the Next Generation first came out, it also was on a different type of distribution. It was broadcast in a first-run syndication, which again there was a bit of uproar, but fans acclimatized in the end. So I don't think it's going to be a killer for Discovery, and I'm excited to see what eventually happens. So that's just a brief summary of the wilderness years of Star Trek between when Enterprise finished to where we are today. So please leave your comments below if you have any other ideas on why we had the wilderness years. Click subscribe. I've got a lot more reviews coming your way. Live long and prosper.